Hey, good morning. Today's another one of our first fives. So today we're looking at the beginning of Luke chapter 1. And Luke writes this gospel, and Luke was a doctor. He was a Gentile doctor. He was a non-Jew. In fact, he's the one who's believed to accompany Paul on several of his missionary journeys. But Luke, because he's a doctor and because he's Gentile, he wants to make sure that he believes in Jesus for all the right reasons. Not only does he want to make sure he believes in Jesus for the right reasons, but he wants to make sure he knows the actual story of Jesus. He wants to know who he is, where he's from, where he was born, how he lived, how he died. And so Luke wants to record all these things. And so I really do love the first four verses of Luke, because in Luke chapter 1, these first four verses, Luke wants to make sure we have a clear understanding of who Jesus is. He wants to make sure we have a clear understanding of how he approached writing this document. And so here's what he begins with. He says, "Many have undertaken to draw up an account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as they were handed down to us by those who from the first were eyewitnesses and servants of the word. Therefore, since I myself have carefully investigated everything from the beginning, it seemed good also to me to write an orderly account for you, most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty of the things you've been taught." So Luke's writing to a particular person named Theophilus with the intention that this document, this gospel as we call it, would be shared with other people. And so there's a couple things I want us to think about as we begin to look at really what he says just in these first four verses. But one of the things that's probably helpful for us is to think in these terms. Luke wants to make sure he understands the whole truth, the whole story of Jesus. Right? We live in a day and age where often you can click on a news article, you can click on some kind of thing on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or some other social media network or news station, and what you'll find is a partial truth. You don't get the full story, or the title will be so misleading that you'll click on it, or you'll even share it, and it's not the whole story. It's not the whole truth. And a week or two later, there'll be a rebuttal that comes out and proves, oh, that wasn't exactly what happened. It was one perspective of something that happened. Well, Luke's goal here is pretty straightforward. He doesn't want just a perspective. Luke investigated this. He talked to eyewitnesses. He talked to lots of people. He doesn't want it to be a partial truth where in the future someone's going to look and go, yeah, but all that's just not true. And so what he does here, he does some really incredible things that I think are really valuable for us. He talks about things fulfilled among us, and that's in verse 1. And what he's saying here is really a powerful statement. And we see it actually in all the Gospels. What all the Gospels and Jesus himself say is this: the Old Testament, so pretty much this much of our Bible, is fulfilled in the person of Jesus. Now, the implications of that are radical. Doesn't mean there aren't principles and things we learn from the Old Testament, but in Jesus, the Old Testament is fulfilled. There's a reason why we talk about Old Testament or Old Covenant and New Testament or New Covenant. It's new because the old has been fulfilled in Jesus. I know that's a long conversation for another day, but Luke wants to make sure that's not missed. Then in verse 2, he talks about that which has been handed down. He's talked about people who've shared the story. There have been eyewitnesses. People have seen Jesus. They talked to him. They saw him after the resurrection. Ate with him. They listened to him. They followed him. In fact, many were to die for him. And so Luke is recording all these stories. And then he says he carefully investigated. Now for some of us, we go, well, why does that matter? Because it's that God never works apart from us. Sure, we believe the Holy Spirit inspired Luke, but we actually believe Luke put in effort. Luke did work. You see, having faith doesn't mean you shut off your brain. Having faith doesn't mean you quit learning. Having faith doesn't mean you don't invest in all kinds of education. That's not what having faith means. It means once I've done all those things, I come to the place where I go, okay, it must be true. I can't refute it. The evidence far outweighs for the existence of Jesus and his work in the world. In fact, I've seen his work. And then we go on and he talks about John the Baptist and the birth of Jesus and Mary and all these things. But Luke begins with this idea that's so powerful for us. He's gone to share these things that people have been eyewitnesses to. So what we know is this: we believe the story of Jesus is true because people saw it. Now, for nearly 2,000 years, people have tried to refute it. And at the end of the day, the good news of Jesus keeps expanding and it keeps changing people's lives. And it really is the hope for us this day and every day. We'll see you next time.